Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Situation Room on PTV World. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz. Once again, we talk about how Pakistan has shown the world that it is certainly a power not to be meddled with. Pakistan defending its territorial integrity and sovereignty has made the enemy being embarrassed throughout the world. We've talked about many things in the past couple of days, but tonight marks a very, very important chapter in history once again. There was a press conference today being led by the Director General of the Inter-Services Public Relations, flanked by members of the other two forces as well, Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan Navy. Of course, DG ISPR Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhary once again gave factual details about Pakistan's operation, which of course was in retaliation to where Pakistan's territorial integrity and sovereignty was challenged. He gave all the details as well, and of course Pakistan Air Force took a step further. Of course, I think the highlight for today would be PF versus IAF 6-0. I think that further defines what we have to discuss today as well. And before that, there was and once again, I say this, with each passing day, India finds a new way to embarrass themselves on the global stage. There was earlier a press conference by the Indian External Affairs Ministry, which involved its tri-services as well. And might I say, lack of professionalism has reached a certain new low once again. What we saw from across the border in this press conference was panic, was embarrassment, and was a lack of professionalism. It also gave us a very clear message that the enemy still is shaken, the enemy still is disturbed, the enemy still is confused as to what has happened. And I think that is a further detrimental element that signifies Pakistan's victory as well. Throughout the country today, it was celebrated as Victory Day. Throughout the country, it was celebrated as a day to thank Allah Almighty for the blessings that He has given us in standing victorious amongst our enemies as well. Joining me in the Situation Room is my co-host Zara Sikandar. Assalamu alaikum, Zara. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed. I'm very fine. Thank you very much. And certainly you have highlighted that it has been a momentous day itself. It has been a Gratitude Day. The nation was celebrating the Yom Tashakkur today, and at this point of time when there is a ceasefire until Monday, this important briefing by the DG ISPR stated some of the very important facts and some of that is also very important and significant for the international consumption as well, because all eyes are on South Asia, and we have seen the global powers like United States, China, and the European Union countries as well, hoping that the stability and normalcy returns to this region, because it's due to the Kashmir issue, it has always been seen as a nuclear flashpoint. And we also see that a time has come once in 1999, and now once again there was a time when National Command Authority was to hold a meeting, but that was somehow before that could happen. The request from Indian side for de-escalation and ceasefire emerged, and this was a significant move. But at the same time, Ahmed, we have also seen that a couple of elements, and especially one of their commanders that were leading the Operation Sindoor, they have stated that they are still in the state of combat, and this is a kind of a situation which is perplexing, because we have seen, as you have already stated, that Indian Air Force versus Pakistan Air Force, 0 versus 6 is the score between the two.
6-0, yes.
6-0 is the score between the two forces. Having said that, it should not be construed in a manner that, yes, when you're in a combat, you could be, the capabilities could be different, but what is that factor for which you are engaging, and what are those aspects for which this whole Pahalgam false flag operation was conducted? I see it a very significant situation towards the resolution of Kashmir dispute. Since 2019, absolutely, we have seen this issue remains lingering, although from the past 77 years, it remains lingering. But post 2019, the situation has changed a lot, and we have seen just like the rising unilateralism across the world, India has taken the same stride, and India has acted in a unilateral capacity, and which cannot be allowed, especially when the disputed issue of Kashmir lies on the agenda agenda of United Nations Security Council table, and it requires to be resolved. And we have seen the fair and free plebiscite right of self-determination to the Kashmiris has been frequently denied by the Indian side, and no international media has ever been allowed an access to visit those territories or see for themselves the atrocities that are being conducted against the Kashmiris.
Absolutely, but like you said, while Pakistan remains very vocal of all of this as well, to discuss further all the happenings in the past 24 hours, of course, with the latest updates as well, we've been joined by senior analyst Dr. Tohrul Yameen. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Right, Dr. Saab, like I said, that the press conference today by the Tri Services, a media briefing, was once again very, very factual, very composed, and further signified a day of victory for the Pakistani nation as well. Well, we see one that was commenced across the border, that was full of confusion, that was once again full of embarrassment and lack of evidence that was provided from the other side. How do you make up all of this, and especially the way Pakistan today has once again given facts to the entire world, especially the international journalistic community?
I think the media war has also been very well conducted from our side. The other side, as you have very accurately pointed out, it has been more of a din and more of a noise with little facts. So as far as the media war goes, I think again we have been very forthcoming, and we have been very deliberate. We have been trying to answer the questions very accurately, whereas the other side has not been doing that. So the entire episode, if you see, right from the time that Pahalgam false flag operation took place, has been one in which Pakistan has behaved responsibly, and Indians have behaved very, very irresponsibly and in a very immature manner. The way they jumped the gun and started blaming Pakistan and accusing Pakistan, and the war hysteria that was drummed up inside India was anything but. It lacked coherence, it lacked maturity. It was not won by a nation which claims to be bastion of democracy. It was one in which you were shouting hoarse, blaming your neighbor for something which it was not involved at all. So I think Pakistan's entire response has been one of calmness. Pakistan did not flutter, it did not blink, it behaved very, very responsibility. It was calm despite all the tension that prevailed, and despite the fact that the entire subcontinent was on a hair trigger alert. It could have at any moment gone anyway. Pakistan did not lose patience. It continued to talk in a very calm voice, and it only responded when it was thought that it was time now that India should understand that we have the necessary wherewithal that we can respond with, and we have the technology which is far superior to them. And more than that, it is the national morale which was exhibited. Pakistan appeared as a united nation. It did not in any phase of this tense drama present image of a divided nation, which the Indians probably miscalculated. They thought that we are divided, we are polarized, and we will not be able to stand up to the occasion. I think that was one of the greatest victory in this entire drama, high tension drama, if you permit me to call it. So over to you.
Right, Dr. Saab, how do we? It's a very difficult, indicator that we try to gauge. But since I think we have to discuss this, what further actions would there be? Because it will mark a very important day today as well. Once both DGMOs would be in contact, but the fact still remains. I'd like you to gauge upon what is the current situation, and because now certain voices have been are being raised from inside India. I want to know the political outlook of this in India for the BJP government, especially for Narendra Modi as well. We've been gauging digital media as well. There has been immense criticism on the Indian External Affairs Ministry, their foreign minister, their prime minister, the butcher of Gujarat, Narendra Modi. Where does this put them politically now? Also, with a question that people are now saying from inside India that their allies are abandoning them.
It is a huge embarrassment for Mr. Modi. He miscalculated, absolutely miscalculated. He thought probably that India is Israel and we are poor and defenseless Palestinian Gaza. He underestimated the entire thing. He pulled a fast one, and now he's faced with a huge embarrassment. I think for the next coming days, he'll be in a damage control exercise. He'll be out to control the fallout, a very negative fallout of a very botched up operation that he launched. This operation has been a complete failure. This idiot has been fully exposed, not only within his own country, but also the world at large. People have at least now come to grips with the reality that he is a psychopath who could lead 1 billion people of this very populous region to war, not just conventional war, but to a nuclear war. So he would be now trying to control the damage and save the situation. And I think his stocks have fallen dramatically. And if the Indians still want him to be their prime minister, it's good luck to them. But this fellow is a complete embarrassment. He is a bully who has been beaten back. He thought that he could play with the nerves of Pakistanis. I think he's failed, miserably failed, and he should be ashamed of himself. What else can I say?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Dr. Tughril Amin Saab, for joining us on the Situation Room. Of course, Dr. Saab giving his analysis of the entire situation, especially the fact that after this embarrassment, what lies ahead for the BJP government being led by Narendra Modi. And remember, there's been extreme criticism for the Indian public, and they have actually quoted that they have been lied to, they've been cheated, they have been emotionally taken on a roller coaster ride and being taken as a fool. So that, you know, the sentiments of the general public in India at the moment seem to be horrific against their own military and political leadership as well. Discussing certain things further now, we have been joined in the Situation Room by defense analyst. Of course, we'll be talking to him regarding the entire scenario, especially the professionalism displayed by the Pakistan Air Force, I think has been remarkable as well. So we're going to be talking about that. Joining us is Air Commodore retired Abbasid Abbasi Sahab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you. Walaikum assalam. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. You're also a proud member of the Pakistan Air Force, and I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of the nation for once again, living up to our expectations. I think DCS Ops at the moment, sir, seems to be the most favorite man in the region, and his tagline of 6-0 seems to be echoing throughout the world right now, not only in Pakistan. What do you make of today's media briefing?
I must say that I very much like the demeanor of all the people attending that meeting. I mean, the three tri-services were represented there, and look at their demeanor. They're very humble. They expect their gratitude to Allah. There was no browbeating. There was no thumping of chest. They did not sort of throw the challenges and loud declarations. They're very humble, and with very humility, they announced the score that it is 6-0. I mean, it's a catastrophe for India. I mean, the top of the line fighters, their pride of their nation. And I would like you to remember when Pulwama attack failed, it got washed up. Mr. Modi said that if we had Rafael today, things would have been different. He was very boastful, and he was very sorry that we didn't have that strike weapon. And now that he had it, and it failed miserably on the very first day. So actually, that campaign was lost that very day. But however, India is a very arrogant, I wouldn't say the whole country, but the leadership. is very arrogant. And they are so arrogant that they have started living in their dreams instead of coming out and facing the reality. Instead of sort of uniting their nation, they are creating dissensions. Look at the disenchantment of the Sikhs, the Muslims, the Christians in that country. There's a significant number, but he's only trying to establish a majoritarian state. And this Hindutva policy is actually taking them to a disaster. It has its moments of glory, certainly for Mr. Modi. But look at the last election. His popularity declined. And here he was forced to form a coalition government. And now, although the Indian elections are 3 years away, but he still sees, he still feels the need to do something to sort of stoke his that declining popularity. And perhaps this whole episode, which has taken place, an act in that direction. But unfortunately for him, unfortunately for us, our armed forces were very ready, and I mean they have given a very befitting response. And look at our sort of strategy or tactics. We very patiently tolerated their attacks. We very patiently kept on shooting down their drones who were actually swarming our cities and even military installations, and kept asking them that please de-escalate. This is not in the favor of, neither in the favor of India nor in the favor of Pakistan. We we cannot afford wars, and that too when we have nuclear uh, um, arsenal. But it was falling on deaf ears. So they did what they had to do, and they got what they deserved. So this is my short my analysis that Pakistan did very well, and I think we have come out with flying colors because of our preparation and our legacy. We are the sort of proud followers of Imam Alam, Sarfraz Rafiqi, Yunus Hassan Shaheed, and Sattar Alvi Saab, and so many names, Saiful Azam Saab. I mean, these are very, very great heroes who who are the, the kills, the number of kills that they achieved in battles with enemies, various enemies, not only India, even Israel, uh, are part of history. And their
While
followers,
sir,
the young pilots of PF today, are actually following their footsteps, and they have polished those skills, and it's so well orchestrated that I think a very mighty enemy could face our onslaught.
sir, why ceasefires are seen as something which are very fragile and short-lived, and especially given in this situation where Pakistan, even today, its leadership commented that Pakistan is sticking by faithfully with this ceasefire agreement. But as we see that India is continuing to self-describe itself being in a state of combat even after this ceasefire. What implications does this statement or this stance of India would have for their diplomatic position on matters that are pertaining and related to this fiasco, this latest fiasco?
Actually, they are having great diplomatic setbacks. I think the greatest setback they had was their protege, Hasina Wajid, was booted out from Bangladesh, and she barely ran and went to uh, her masters. I mean, they had created her. They had created that entire Awami League hierarchy. So they're beaten there, and now they are beaten on the Western Front also. So I think there was a time when they were able to isolate Pakistan, and there were times that these regional countries, the neighboring countries, were actually falling behind India. But that all that dynamics has changed within a few months. And the last episode, I mean, this is I would say this is the defining moment for Pakistan and the sort of the regional relationship, that India, who had the hegemonistic designs, is actually now looking for a scapegoat. They are actually started already blaming their own foreign secretary and people like that for the fiasco that they got into. And I think it's only their sort of rigid attitude. I can tell you that probably their unconfirmed reports, but it's plausible that their military leadership did not want a war at this time, because although the Rafales are there with them for last 4 years, but I think this was not sufficient time for a fighter pilot to actually get that expertise which is required to face adversities like we have, like Pakistani nation, who are battle hardened, and there's so many battles behind them, air combat battles. So
Sir, considering the recent events, what confidence building measures can Pakistan propose in this situation, or for that matter, international community can propose in this situation?
I think the international community has voiced its concerns, because both nuclear nations, they can ill afford, and the loss, if something, if the nuclear breakout takes place, it will not harm only the two countries, it will harm the whole region. If you remember the Chernobyl incident, which is, I think, how many years, it's 40 years back it happened, and its fallout went all over Europe, and so many countries are affected. And it was not an explosion; it was just a nuclear leak. So a nuclear sort of actually use of an atomic bomb would have catastrophic effect for the whole region, for the whole Asia. I am very sure. So nobody wants that to happen, and we became very close to it. And you just mentioned that NCA meeting was called. So that was only called for this purpose, to give a go ahead, because when the chips are done, when you're back, with your back to the wall, then you use your last option. You can't keep it. So I think the message is very clear. I hope the Indian leadership listens to it and sort of better sense prevail. And I sincerely hope that since Donald Trump has taken the responsibility of arranging it and sort of mediating in it, he has very clearly said that I want to mediate on it. And this is another diplomatic setback, because Kashmir has been internationalized. Because of similar agreement, India always pressed that no one else should talk about it, because it's a bilateral issue. And now it's no more a bilateral issue. So there are very significant sort of diplomatic setbacks for India in this whole episode.
How,
Certainly.
yeah.
Commodore Saab, one thing is very particular to understand. You also mentioned the saga of Rafales as well, and the professionalism in the pilots. Now, it's very important to understand that the success of any force, any military might, also relies on one very important element, which is the morale of these forces as well. Now, with five, almost six planes down, five of them being the most anticipated Rafale, and as DCS Ops also mentioned that last time they said that that would be the game changer, that would be the difference, so that's why we showed them what the difference is. Pakistan Air Force continues to engage the enemy successfully. Not the first time, it has happened twice now as well. 6-0 as the score is being, of course, highlighted as well as a tagline. What does it do to the morale of the forces as well? Because the press conference from across the border today, in which they were being represented by a member of their Air Force, was very, very disappointing, was very embarrassing, where they failed to give any evidence or any details of certain claims that they've made against our Air Force.
You ask a boxer who has got in a 15 round battle, he got a knockout punch in the first round, and he barely rose to his feet. So, I mean, he can last for another round perhaps, but he won't last long. So the armed forces know it. I hope the leadership also gets the message. And there's some anxiety that India may hit back. Uh, I can assure you that they are in no position to hit back. Their armies, their soldiers are, because a demoralized army cannot win a war. They cannot. I think any sensible military leader will take some time for to boost the morale of its forces, who have once suffered such a great setback, to sort of rise again and sort of uh, face a combat again. It shouldn't happen quickly. If they do it, it will be a great folly, and inshallah they will sort of further damage and hurt themselves.
Justify its position or stance, the current stance that it is still in the combat position, because this simply reflects that India is an aggressor, and it further solidifies the matter that the Pahalgam incident was a false incident, and the operation, this whole operation was a false flag operation, and this escalation was a deliberate aggression on the part of India. How do you see coming about, and what would be the reaction of international community to this situation?
community, I'm very hopeful that they should understand what India is. And I hope that actually India, the rising and shining of India has been sort of, there's one factor behind it. Because United States thought that China is their, they must sort of face China and sort of contain China. So they selected India as a partner. And that gave a great boost to India. But I think what happened in last few days would make them think again. And Mr. Trump's statement that I will increase trade between Pakistan and India. So look, everywhere he is putting Pakistan and India at the same pedestal, whereas they were not doing it that for some time. They were India centric. They had become India centric. India was their strategic partner. They were their most favored nation for them, and it was everything for them. They thought that this is a panacea for their sort of struggle against China. But I think it's their folly, and sooner they realize that folly, it will be better for them. And Indians are giving them ample evidence, and Pakistan is ready to sort of help in that. They have done so far, and they will keep doing it, inshallah, in the future also.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Air Commodore Basida Basisab, for joining us on the Situation Room and for your analysis as well. Of course, we know for sure the facts are now in front of the entire world. It's not just about us anymore, and I think it's just the whole world that continues to realize these facts. It continues to report on these facts, and major cause of embarrassment towards India. And like I said, that it's not just a victory for Pakistan on the military front, but also on a diplomatic front as well. Discussing things further now, we've been joined in studios by our special correspondent Raza Khan. Assalamu alaikum, Raza. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Raza. Now, Raza, two very important factors I want to discuss with you. I'll go to the media briefing across the border in a bit, because I think that is probably one of the most embarrassing moments for them once again. But let's talk about our media briefing today of the tri-services. You were present there as well. You heard it. Of course, you were physically there. It's not just the facts that have been given. Air Commodore Saab was talking about this just a while ago as well, that the energy in that room, the sense of satisfaction and the humbleness that we saw. I was just saying that DCS Ops seems to be the most popular man in the world right now, but also, the way it has been addressed, the way the international community was told today. What details can you provide us of this media briefing, and what do you make of it when you analyze the kind of confidence that our services were carrying?
Yes, Ahmed, there was stark difference. I think somebody has put the two photographs of two briefings, Indian briefing and Pakistani briefing, side by side, and the differences for everyone to see. There is complete despondency and depression written on the faces of the Indians, the Indian representatives of its armed forces, whereas we right from the commencement of the briefing till the conclusion, there was, as you rightly pointed out, one word. There was humility, but as well as that, there was satisfaction and, of course, happiness that, along with the nation of Pakistan, armed forces have made us proud. And armed forces of Pakistan, Army, Navy, Air Force, all three synergized together. Synergy was one word which you can associate with how Pakistan's Operation Bunyan Marsus managed to smash Indian dreams of grandiosity, and they were humbled. And the credit goes to, as DGISPR Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry rightly pointed out, apart from the leadership, the Prime Minister, Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif, his cabinet, and of course he thanked the nation, the people of Pakistan, the youth, and he also thanked the media as well. So all in all, it was a whole of nation approach, and the military leadership deserves credit. General Sayyid Asim Munir, the Chief of Army Staff, Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmad Babar Sidhu, Admiral Naveed Ashraf. So all three, Pakistan Army, Air Force, Navy, they all combined their resources and they synergized in such an admirable manner that a huge country with 1.5 billion population, with much larger economy than Pakistan, with the numerical superiority in every service, be that Indian Army, which is almost 2.5 to 3 times of Pakistan Army, and Indian Air Force, which is about twice. It has twice the number of fighter jets as Pakistan, and Navy, which is almost 4 times that of Pakistan Navy. So, despite these numerical superiority, India got a bloody nose at the hands of Pakistan. And you and I were sitting here earlier, when Pakistan's Bunyan al-Marsus was in progress, and in a few hours, you talked about briefings. Let me remind you of one briefing which happened on the morning of 10th, when the Operation Bunyan al-Marsus had created havoc in India. The female Air Force officer who was there from India's side said it herself that if Pakistan does not escalate, then India is willing to de-escalate. So the first indication to the world came from their side, from India's side, that enough is enough. They have, and it happened because of the success of Operation Bunyan al-Marsus.
And this has been exposed globally as well, Raza, because when we look at international media outlets and media organizations, CNN was the first, their correspondent in Islamabad was the first to publicly say that India desperately asked the US to intervene. Then certain world powers also acknowledged that it was India who, after gauging the situation and gauging how distorted they were after Pakistan's response, almost begged world powers to ask Pakistan to de-escalate.
Yes, this is true. This is actually the case, and otherwise, as you know, like a drunk elephant, the dastardly attack of 6th, 7th May, especially early hours of 7th May, when they were Indians were hitting civilian targets, mosques in Pakistan, living areas, living quarters, killing children, innocent children, women, men. 31 of them were martyred that night, and 57 were injured in different cities and areas of Pakistan. India just didn't fathom the fact that it will be retaliated to. And then finally, the red line was crossed when India, as the Air Force representative, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb pointed out in the briefing, that the hitting of the air bases of Pakistan, Noor Khan in Rawalpindi, Murid in Chakwal, and Rafiki in Shawkot.
Right,
So was the red line, and that led to Operation Bunyan al-Marsus, and it taught them a lesson which they will remember for a long time.
Right. Raza, we see the stark contrast between what India has requested for and how it is maintaining its combative posture now. What should both nations and the region especially should expect out of the conversation that is to be held between the DGMOs of the countries?
This question was put to DG ISPR, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry, a short while ago during the briefing, and he said that from our side we are ready either way. We are ready, ceasefire is on, it has been agreed to, and Pakistan is a country of peace. Pakistan wants peace, believes in peace, but at the same time, if India tries to test Pakistan again, if India tries to attack Pakistan again, the response will come, the retaliation will come immediately, exactly as it came when Operation Bunyan al-Marsus was launched against India. So it's clear that DGMOs of both Director General Military Operations of Pakistan and India are supposed to talk to each other around 12 noon, and today I think the 12th of May has commenced. So they of course will narrate their own leadership's message to each other, and let me just, for the viewers, point it out that there is a hotline already between the two DGMOs,
yes,
Pakistani, and it is for such purposes. But in this time, and they keep on communicating with each other through that. Those are not announced usually, but this time it was part of the ceasefire, so it was announced earlier that on 12th May at 12 noon, DGMOs will talk to each other. So India, if it tries to break the ceasefire anywhere across the LOC, or at the working boundary or the international border, Pakistan will respond, and Pakistan will respond massively, as it did in the early hours of 10th May and gave India a lesson which they will remember.
Right. Yes, Ahmed.
Yes, I think it's just, what we saw today from across the border was not only embarrassing, but a mockery of the tri-services of the Republic of India as well. And I think it's just utter embarrassment. We talked about the morale of their troops as well, their soldiers, which would had to be so low that I don't think anyone with that low of a morale, any force in the world, can retaliate an enemy as strong as Pakistan. And I think that's very rightly put out as well. But there are a couple of factors, Raza, that were identified today as well in this media briefing. Especially when you talk about the Pakistan Air Force, it's not just about shooting down 6 jets as well, which have clearly made a difference. The fact also remains that Pakistan's primary goal over here was retaliation, and which they did successfully across multiple spectrum. And all those targets today were once again highlighted that India has been denying since the past 48 hours with reports of minimal damage. But today, once again, Pakistan Air Force and the armed forces highlighted that there was severe damage to these military installations, especially when we talk about the storage facility of BrahMos in Beas as well. Another major part of this operation was Pakistan's cyber attack on Indian facilities and Indian strategic important websites as well. What significance does this have now? Because we've been engaging sane voices from within India who are actually calling out their military and political leadership for betraying them, for taking them as an emotional fool, for failing to protect them.
Yes, that's true, and I think I can take you to that clip which was shown during the press briefing by DGISPR, in which a young lady is openly questioning that if Indian armed forces could not protect their air bases, then how can it protect them? It's a short but very meaningful clip which basically signifies the anger and the disappointment, as you rightly pointed out, amongst the Indian public with regard to their armed forces, because numerically, as I say, India takes pride in being in top 3-4 of the world's armed forces numerically. Its its numbers speak for itself, but whether those numbers translate it into any meaningful operation, it was challenged. These armed forces were challenged by Operation Bunyan and Marsus, and as it was pointed out in the DGISPR's press briefing, not only by Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry, there was a representative of Pakistan Navy as well, Vice Admiral Rab Nawaz. He also pointed out that how Pakistan Navy managed to thwart the evil designs of Indian Navy, which is around 4 to 5 times that of Pakistan as far as the strength of its surface ships and the submarines is concerned. But Pakistan Navy is professional, dedicated, and it was moving in synergy with the Pakistan Air Force.
Certainly.
And if Vikrant had tried, INS Vikrant, the aircraft carrier of India, had tried to make any escalatory move, because it reached 400 nautical miles away from Pakistan's shore, Pakistan's coast, but then it returned back, and he said the 10-12 MiGs that are placed over there on it are not going to make much of a difference, even if they were launched. So Pakistan Navy was ready for it. Pakistan Navy was ready for their submarines. Pakistani submarines were ready, and they were at their locations designed to hit India hard.
Absolutely. Raza, we're going to come back to you. Of course, we have to go towards a short break. And before we do that, Zara, I must ask you, certain voices now coming from within India, what do they signify when their public, their people now say that they have been betrayed at the hands of their political and military leadership?
You answered it yourself. When the trust is broken, the confidence is shaken. And this is what exactly happened in case of Indian government escalating and expressing the posture of warmongering, and they are hell-bent on their extremist tendencies and extremist ideas. But they have forgotten this land has once been the land of very enlightened, very intellectual people. We see so many of these saner voices on the other side of the spectrum as well. But they are, as usual, in the states where it is heavily militarized, where it is heavily washed or regularized, we have seen the voices of dissent or differences are often gagged. And this is what exactly the RSS-led BJP government is doing with
Certainly.
its citizens at the moment.
Certainly, certainly. Time now, of course, for a short break. And when we come back, I think we'll discuss the larger picture at hand, which is, of course, the fact that now India's public and certain analysts and experts across the border are saying that their allies are betraying them as well, and they're tainting this as a huge diplomatic loss for India. We discuss this and more right after a short break. Stay tuned to PTV World. Welcome back to the Situation Room here on PTV World. We've discussed many aspects and, of course, the details the last 24 hours, including a media briefing by the Pakistani Tri Services giving factual information of the Operation Banyan Marsoos that dealt heavy damage to military installations across India of strategic importance. And, of course, the response from the international community has been coming in as well, which have, of course, now called for de-escalation between both the countries. A ceasefire, of course, exists currently at the moment. The DGMOs of both countries are to meet today, of course, establish a phone call, to be precise, establish communication, and of course further news will keep coming in, and PTV World will be updating you. To discuss things further, we've been joined on the Situation Room by Turkish journalist and political analyst Emre Diner. Assalamu alaikum, Emre. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Alaikum salam. Hi from Istanbul to Islamabad.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Mr. Diner, you know, the whole world has now called for de-escalation to this situation. But more than that, how do you politically analyze the happenings of the past 48 hours now, considering that currently at the moment major media outlets throughout the world, major political powers now realize that Pakistan's retaliatory response has left India in all sorts of confusion, and now voices from India are claiming that their allies have abandoned them?
Yes. And first of all, I want to say this sentences, and Pakistan and Turkey as well are old friends. You know that. The world know that. And you know, we have historical ties, and Pakistan is one of the few countries to stand by the Turkey in the difficult times. And so I think these times, especially these times, the most important question, I think, my friends, this is the questions is, I think, what does India's operation in Pakistan mean? What does it mean? Why the behaving the conflict Pakistan and India as well between as well. In my opinion, according to me, this is a very important answer, I think, for the conflict to country. In my opinion, behind escalation and tension or Kashmir is, of course, the power alignment between the global powers. I means underline these sentences. And in addition, India especially aims to become the superpower of the region with the power it receives from the West, you know. And also behind the escalations of the tensions, especially between Pakistan and India over the Kashmir issue, there is, of course, also a connection with the power alignment between the power global powers, especially in general, and also the nationalist and nationalist forces in Pakistan, in your country, have been targeted by the USA for the last term, I think, and so on this the basis, especially on this the basis, the balance within the country is unstable. It's no secret, I think, that the nationals aware of this have been getting closer, especially China in recent years. And so the opening in the market and developing the military and political reasons. And also Pakistan is one of the most important pillars of the China. And you know this China's Road and Belt project, you know, this is the important project, this and on the South Asia. And so moreover, Pakistan's Gravadar port is vital for the Chinese access to Indian Ocean. And this about the corridor. And likewise, China is Pakistan's biggest army supplier. You know, everybody know that. And on the Kashmir issue, China support Pakistan and criticizes India. And so, for example, when the border dispute between China and India over Aksai, China is taken into the account, and it can be said that the fluctuating the tensions have the potential for war. And so, one and how this will happen depends and really on the balance of power, I think. This is, I think, the power, global powers countries theater, I think. For example, like Ukraine and Russia. And this turn, Pakistan and India. And so those calculating to weaken China through war will not neglect to explore the grounds for a war with India, I think. And either directly or indirectly through Pakistan. And this tension, especially criticize, I mean that, and India and Pakistan. In result, I'm not common sense is essential about the conflict the Pakistan and India, but the all reasons I explained, I think.
Mr. Emery, as an international journalist, you must have covered a lot of conflict situations. How do you see the mood of international community given the recent escalation between India and Pakistan? And where do you think this situation is leading the global community?
And I think I said that India became to especially religion power became India government, and so the I think the USA developed the support to India for the China. Understand me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and also all of the international community, I think, should support the Pakistan.
Right.
Because the Kashmir, I think Kashmir issue is very important. For example, when some issues frozen in the door in the at the free zone, okay, and some countries, some global countries take to the again this criticize at the agenda. And for example, why I want to ask to you, for example, why support the USA and European Union and last term to India? Why? And because one reason is China, is blocked to China, is trading, I think, and to become to global powers. And so I'm not soldier, I am not commander, but I am I'm political events. I want to say the political reason in this criticize about Pakistan and India. This is very important develop and important issues now. For example, 2 years ago, we show Russia and Ukraine. And Russia and Ukraine they continue the war as until 2022. And so we should show real reason about to criticize, I think.
Certainly, certainly. Thank you very much, Mr. Emri, for talking to us on the Situation Room. Of course, Dinir Emri gives us his analysis of the international community as well. Raza Khan still with us in studios. Raza, I must ask you something of a very, very critical juncture at this moment. Two important things that have come out from India in the past 24 hours, which I have personally gauged as well. Number one, what does the statement mean that is being now reverberated across India, that our allies have abandoned us? They have termed, it's come to a point where majority voices in India have taken to digital media platforms such as X to call for the resignation, and they've also termed him the worst ever foreign minister, to Jai Shankar, of being a diplomatic failure to India, expecting the 13th Fleet to come to their aid, their allies abandoning them. What does this signify to the world?
Actually, Ahmed, the thing is that it is a time for real soul searching for India, and especially its people. Why would they just, keep on supporting this right-wing Hindu government? They've got to realize that this right-wing Hindu government of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh, they are leading them towards, and of course Subramaniam Jai Shankar, the foreign minister you mentioned, they are leading them to a disaster, and they have actually faced a disaster. This was on, the writing was on the wall. Their Air Force had been crying for years now. I can give you example of the recent one as AP Singh, whoever. A few months ago, he openly, have you ever heard of an air chief of any nation state just openly saying that, we are at 31 squadrons, it's not enough, and we should get 42 as per the sanctions trying to face China and Pakistan. So for years they have been saying to India, and several of their journalists have also been saying to them, that these 31 squadrons and the kind of planes that they had, they will not be enough to make the difference. They got a warning shot in Operation Swift Retort when their MiG-21 was shot down and a Su-30 was shot down. But in February 2019, now we are sitting in 2025, this is May. So it's, almost 6 years. Plus, they have not learned. The only thing that they added in these 6 years is those 36 Rafales.
Out of which 5 have been shot down.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So they had put all their eggs in one basket, that is Rafales from France. They thought that if we buy them, and Narendra Modi has gone on public, addressing one public gathering in 2019 after Operation Swift Retort, he said, had they been Rafales, the result would have been different. This was his public pronouncement. Now they had Rafales. Even with them, PAF, which is half the fighter strength of Indian Air Force, managed to give them a really bloody nose, a terrible beating.
But Raza, throughout the operation, Banyan Marsus, throughout the operation, India was unable to respond. This is a very, very serious question that has now been raised, that throughout that operation, our military resources were unchallenged inside India, including when we talk about our drones hovering over New Delhi for more than 3.5 hours. We can talk about the way we had infiltrated one of their key military installations across India, leaving the enemy unable to respond. What does this signify to the world? Because India has for long glorified itself of being the military might in this region.
Ahmed, the thing is, the credit ought to be given where it's due, and that is India actually did not expect that Pakistan would launch a massive attack like Operation Bunyan and Marsus. Let it be, known that they just thought that, as in the past, they would just simply get away with it. But somehow they didn't realize that we have in our armed forces, we have PF, we have Army, we have Navy, and we have these three leaders, and of course we have the civilian leadership sitting behind and supporting the armed forces, and the people supporting the armed forces. So you have rightly pointed out the Achilles heel of India, that it didn't actually expect Pakistan to respond, and when it did in such a massive manner, as you know, it is our job to be on duty during such times. So we at PTV World were on duty. We were seeing the feeds from Indian, websites as well around 4:30 a.m. On 10th May, when Operation Bunyan and Marsus was launched, and we were simply amazed that there was no mention of the fact that India is responding to, and India is under attack. But India was under a massive attack, and as the one slide which was shown by Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb in the DGISPR's briefing, it showed the length and breadth of Western India, right from the LOC to Sir Creek. Can you believe that? It is just almost the complete length of our border with India. And that whole border's eastern side, that is the Indian side, became target of Pakistan, and Pakistani Air Force was playing hell with them, and it was destroying and pummeling their air bases throughout this. It is called India's Western Air Command, got under massive pressure. But where was that? Where was the Air Force? You have raised a very important point, that of course Indians has to ask these questions. They have to ask this question from their armed forces. You are such in high number. You dominate numerically. You have numerical superiority over Pakistan in all the three services. Then how come when Operation Bunyan and Marsus challenged you in reality for the first time, those 4.5 to 5 hours, you were simply getting hit? Where was your response? But before that, before Operation Bunyan and Marsus, they were launching BrahMos, they were launching drones in various cities of Pakistan. But you have raised a very important point. Even we were wondering, where is, they were not even claiming that they are responding. We went through various of their websites as part of being our professional duty. That is to what they are saying. They did not say that Indian armed forces are retaliating to Pakistani attack. For several hours, we kept on monitoring them. So,
because at the rate Pakistan were going, had Pakistan not
Exactly.
restrained after a certain while, we were of the opinion that at least no air base would be left in India for their air force to respond.
But the greater question that that is also a very point of a concern is this, that India has built its military might in saying that it's going to, use as a deterrence or balance of power, given the nuclear capabilities both the countries have. But the greater question should be on the international community that has supplied or built the capacity of India militarily, but still has not bounded it by the conditionalities that it is not going to use these weapons or ammunition or assets in the form of any aggression. I think this is a very concerning moment, and Pakistan needs to raise this point with the international community. Mr. Raza, what would you say about this?
Zara, actually the thing is, let's be honest, let's give the right perspective, and the right perspective is that West is to blame, especially US, UK, European Union. They've always thought of India as this Bollywood kind of an entity. The Bollywood does not represent real India. If you want to see, Bollywood represents, dancing, shining India, and all that. Whereas the real India is the one which attacks minorities day in, day out, where Muslims get lynched, where Sikhs get lynched, where Christians get lynched, where Dalits, the low caste Hindus, get lynched. It's a country where poor people are not safe. where foreign tourists, especially female ones, are not safe. But even with all that, and with all this, India has been groomed by the West as a sort of a regional bulwark against China. And this has gone on for years. But they must realize, you have raised an important point. Time has come for the Western communities, the Western states, nation states, to realize India can only bully the smaller neighbors. And India will never take on China, because knowing that China is a great power, it's a bigger economy, it has its PLA, the People's Liberation Army, it's a massive army with and dedicated army, which is and its air force is very strong, and its navy is now numerically the largest navy in the world.
Absolutely,
Chinese
absolutely.
Navy.
Raza, we're going to come back to you. We are now, of course, going to discuss the Air Force capabilities further, of course, the success of Pakistan Air Force and the embarrassment of the Indian Air Force. To discuss this further, we've been joined, of course, on the Situation Room by Defence Analyst, Air Vice Marshal, retired Ijaz Malik Saab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir. The nation is truly proud of its armed forces, and especially the way Pakistan Air Force has always lived up to the expectation of this great nation. Sir, today certain things are to be highlighted, and I think they're very important to be explained to our audience as well. And of course, having you will give us a further opportunity to clarify that as well. We were just discussing the concept that Pakistan Air Force throughout this operation Banyan Marsoos has been unchallenged in enemy airspace. We talked about the fact that India's inability to respond to this operation, especially their Air Force, and the embarrassment what we saw from across the border in their media briefing today, where certain questions were raised, first of downing of their jets, which was responded by saying that you suffer casualties, it's not a big deal. And then the question of, their false claims of Pakistani jets, and if they have valid evidence, which they failed to provide, and said maybe on their side they suffered casualties. What does this signify, sir, to the world of a self-proclaimed military might that has for long tried to dominate this region?
Thank you very much. First of all praise to be Allah Almighty, who enabled the Pakistan as a nation and Pakistan Air Force as the key player to restore our deterrence over our enemy and to restore and maintain the respect and prestige of our motherland, as a sovereign state. What India was doing, as I was just, listening to your discussion before being, brought in to comment. Yes, India is a bully in this area. And while India is being equipped and strengthened by West on the pretext of a counterweight to China, but that rare opportunity may not even come ever in this region. But India, in the garb of being, a frontline state or an emerging power to counter China, it has amassed an arsenal, high-tech weaponry, and it has given them an impetus for their arms race in this region. So obviously, once you have a threat, once you have a capability, you don't restrict it to a particular. There are no ethics for war. Now the datum is the might is right. So they thought that they have so much of might that they can challenge anybody and everybody in the region should be a compliant state. But that cannot be true in case of Pakistan, a country, having 25 crore people who regard sole issue of Kashmir as if it's part of their faith, and potent armed forces, battle-hardened air force particularly. So they had, out of proportion, they built up the, or inflated, I would say, exaggerated center of gravity for their S-400 missile defense system against our very potent weapons, and obviously the Rafale aircraft, which they thought is the apex of Western technology. So they, started the war through a media campaign, and then you know what happened. And just you were referring to the press conferences on both sides of border. The very conduct of the press conference in India and Pakistan. Let's talk about their air representative and our DCS operations. The kind of body language, the kind of comfort. I mean, the Pakistani side gave, three times more time to the participating journalists from across the country and maybe some foreigners to answer every question. And they had, in the form of their presentation, the actual radar picture, not animation, because that has been my bread and butter, and I am very familiar, and I can very proudly share with your audience that my last assignment as Air Officer Commanding Air Defense Command, this air defense of Pakistan was my core mission. So I was very pleased to see that they were referring time and again to the actual live situation, air situation, wherein they explained in each and every frame what was the air picture then, how they did aggression, and how we responded, and how we, ultimately toppled the table for them. And rest is the history. So now it's
Certainly.
up to the world. Now it's up to the world. Let me tell you, the world need to look at this region with a different lens now. This was, in the modern history, warfare history, this was the most extensive and intense aerial battle. Almost 100 aircraft contesting air superiority from both sides collectively. Before that, we have seen only one-sided application of massive air power in Afghanistan, in Iraq twice, first in Operation Desert Storm and subsequently a second time, and then in Syria, Libya, and even in Gaza against innocent Palestinians by Israel. This is for the first time that two supposedly very professional forces. I have a lot of regard for IAF as a potential, regardless that they are our enemy, but they had the wherewithal to fight. What we did, surprisingly, that was not unexpected. But how they responded, it shocked them, it surprised us, and the world is also still in shock that how an air force having 850 fighter planes from best of the best technology from Soviet origin, Sukhoi Su-30, MiG-29, and Mirage 2000, and Rafale, how they crumbled like house of cards in front of onslaught of Pakistan Air Force.
Absolutely.
So this is Alhamdulillah a success story, a total victory in the air.
So international media has also praised Pakistan Armed Forces, specifically Pakistan Air Force. How do you see this appreciation pouring in and building and contributing to further increasing the confidence and capabilities of Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan Armed Forces overall?
The first and foremost thing which came rather as an impulse action or a reflex action was that I just wished that I was in uniform and I would have been in the ops room alongside my colleagues to fight for this, very glorious battle for Pakistan Air Force. But nevertheless, what satisfied me and made me happy that my colleagues who have been, we have been together, we have been groomed together, trained together, who are now holding the reins of the Air Force, their leadership, their command and control structure, the air defense systems, everybody responded. Everybody did their job with meticulous precision. And you see the results. There are at least 5 aircraft down. Their drones, all drones who attacked us are down. And through our, precision weapons, we have neutralized at least two of their very precious and cherished S-400 missile defense system. What else do you expect in an intense war of almost 4 hours, 4.5 hours? But having
Absolutely, I
said
think
that,
major success that we talk about as well. But AVM Saab, at current, the entire scenario that has been presented in front of the international community today, and the fact still remains now that voices have started pouring in from inside India. They're calling this a betrayal at the hands of their military forces and political leadership. They've even gone to the extent of saying that if you can't protect our air bases, how are you going to protect our people? What does this signify to us, the entire world, and the way this balance of power now shifts in the region? How do you analyze the next couple of days or the next month or so? How would the world, especially Western powers, respond?
first of all, about Indian side, I would say now, these are going to be difficult times for Mr. Modi to continue with his RSS agenda in country, because now if the Indian National Congress, as they have started to raise their voice, if they capitalize on this failure on the part of Mr. Modi, I think he is doomed. His political ambitions are doomed. Coming about the region, now the world has to refresh their lens, or the entire outlook towards this region, and they have to see that how they have to deal with India and Pakistan distinctly, and not through prism of each other. Previously, they were dealing Pakistan with the perspective and lens of from the Indian side. Now they have to treat us with equality and with the respect that we deserve. We don't have any aggressive or ambitious design. What we want West to ensure for us is what is given in the Charter of the United Nations Security Council. Resolution of Kashmir affair, restoration of the water basin treaty, stoppage of cross-border terrorism by India, and restoration of peace in this region through composite dialogue that we have been, requesting time and over again. So these are very justified demands, and world has to look at them realistically to avoid any future conflict. Remember, right now, India opted for ceasefire because they were caught from their throat. But sooner or later, once they have a bit of respite, they will try to manipulate, like they did after 1948. And then they took this issue to United Nations Security Council, but then they just gained time, and slowly and gradually that issue, which was an international issue, which still remains up pending point on the UNSC, they said now it's bilateral after Simla agreement, and after they have repelled their own constitution, Article 370 and 35A. Now they say that this is their internal issue. So we should not have any doubt that India is not going to, take it lying down. But they will try to compensate what they have lost in air, what they have lost in the battleground. They will try to compensate through better narrative building, through better diplomatic exterior maneuver, and they will try to outmaneuver Pakistan. So I would request through your channel, because you represent, mashallah, the state channel, that I just hope and pray that our political leadership focuses on this, with a lot of strength, and we follow up what we have achieved on negotiation table well. We should go well prepared, and also in parallel, we must take up our case on relevant international law forums, because India has violated during all this episodes at least 8 of the international conventions and treaties. So we have a very strong we
the
have a
very
very strong
aggression
case to
itself
cross.
created by India, launched by India itself, has been a very unlawful act. And this is an irony, or maybe what would you guide or envisage the role of Pakistani diplomatic, diplomats to pursue or to guide the way or to put across at the right forums the position of Pakistan, how India has been always violating the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Pakistan.
But I think so far our foreign office has done tremendously well. Let's give them credit. Like we have to give credit to people like you, the media at large, how responsibly, how ferociously they fought the onslaught of Indian falsified media. So everybody did their best. But now the onus of responsibility is on the political leadership, that how they steer this diplomatic maneuvers post this commitment for ceasefire. So I think, I mean, in my humble capacity, I am not an expert on foreign diplomacy, but I would say that we must utilize formal channel as well as informal channel. Once I say informal channel, we have an array of retired diplomats, some former foreign ministers, and some other people who have lot of credibility in international forums, who have personal rapport with the corridors where the entire policy making is done in Washington and other capitals. We must activate those people as well. Otherwise,
Sir, how do you see?
Certainly, yes.
it will not
Yes, sir.
be,
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank you,
much, sir, for joining us. That was Air Vice Marshal Ijaz Malik Saab joining us, sir. Thank you very much for your time and analyzing the situation at large as well. And I think a very important particular statement, Raza Khan, our special correspondent, is still with us in studios. Raza, in the year 2020, when India suffered embarrassment at the hands of the Chinese forces as well, the People's Liberation Army of China, and of course this, of course, concerning to the land they lost at the line of actual control. At that time, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi had termed the butcher of Gujarat as Surendra Modi, he said. So, I mean, that now, of course, echoes once again. As AVM Saab also mentioned, that there is going to be tremendous pressure on the Modi-led government. As I already mentioned, that people are calling for the resignation of Jaishankar. You also categorically highlighted this as well. What future course politically do you see India taking now after this?
Well, Ahmed, the thing is, I think as I gave the example of a drunk elephant the other day when I was discussing with you in Situation Room the scenario, the thing is we've got to keep our guard up. I mean, I would say that yes, we have a ceasefire, and tomorrow DGMOs will talk to each other from Pakistan and India around noon. But Pakistan, as DG ISPR pointed out, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry, that Pakistan believes in peace, but we are prepared for any sort of aggression. So I would say that at a personal note, we need to keep our guard up, because as you mentioned, that if voices are being raised in India, which is the case against Modi and his whole entourage, which is ruling India, this means that they might be pushed into desperate measures, and in desperation to present something which they haven't done so, because in their opinion they might have just thought that we would just go and hit a few mosques, kill a few people in Pakistan, and then show to the world and show to our population that look, we have avenged Pahalgam, and we have avenged all other attacks, and we have gone inside Pakistan and attacked. But that backfired big time. Pakistan Air Force was there that night and shot down 5 of their top of the line jets, including 3 Rafales, and of course the Israeli made Heron drone. So they were put on the defensive when their Air Force was away from the air because of the fear of PL-15 and the J-10s and the JF-17s. They immediately started firing the drones. But the drone warfare also didn't last long, and then they started firing BrahMos missiles, as pointed out in the DGISPR's briefing by the Air Force representative AVM Aurangzeb, that they started firing BrahMos cruise missiles on the air bases. Now that was the red line, and of course that made us immediately go towards Operation Burian Mersus, and that Those 4-5 hours made the difference. Our Fateh 1, Fateh 2 was raining down on them from Army. Our Air Force was pummeling the air bases from the air, and in synergy with each other, the Navy was alert, Pakistan Navy was alert in the seas. So the stage came that the drama was up. They thought that they would just have a bit of a show and Pakistan would just take it, and Pakistan would not have the courage or the decisiveness to go after India. But Pakistan has a chief of army staff, a chief of air staff, a chief of naval staff, and on top of it, we have a prime minister who gave along with the National Security Committee, the whole of it, gave complete go-ahead to the armed forces as and when and how to attack India if they gave the permission and the authorization. And that's exactly what happened when the armed forces chiefs decided that yes, enough is enough, it is time to give India a dose. They gave the dose after Operation Banana Marsoos. So we've got to be prepared. We must not lower our guard from the icy heights of Skardu till LOC, Bhimber, and down towards Sialkot and down till Sir Creek. We must be on guard, both from Indian Army's actions, Indian Air Force's actions, or in the sea. We've got to maintain this level of vigilance up because I fear that as his popularity goes down and neutral sources point out how badly Indian Air Force performed, how badly Indian armed forces performed, then the pressure might be on Modi and his cohorts, the evil cohorts that he's got, to try something in desperation. And we've got to keep our guards up.
Certainly, certainly. Thank you very much, our special correspondent Raza Khan, for joining us in the Situation Room. Of course, once again, throughout the course of this episode, we've brought you all the details of the past 24 hours, including the media briefing by our TRA services as well. One thing once again stands out tall, that Pakistan once again presents factual evidence of its retaliatory action during Operation Banyanul Marsoos, and I think that is there now in front of the international community as well. Thank you very much, Zara Sikandar, for joining us, my co-host as well, and thank you very much to our viewers as well. From all of us here at PTV World, it's goodbye for now.